Hey guys, today on what is this called? The Let's Go podcast.
Let's go.
Buying and selling, getting started. How do we get started? Let's go. We're gonna have a discussion about it.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, so this is a really interesting topic. We had a lot of people asking us, how do you just get started in this buy and selling industry? So we thought it'd be interesting to take you guys through our personal journeys. And then also, Jimmy's wife is literally just getting started.
Yeah, she is in this part right here.
She's in the
getting started. She's getting started.
So
she's on a clean slate like this board.
Well, let's talk about that, Jimmy. So she's the latest getting started in this in the buying and selling in the family.
That was my foot.
No, there went something. Why don't we talk about that for just a minute? Like, give us before you tell how she's doing it. Let's talk about where she's at. And the beginning of her journey with this.
She's actually she's getting ready to retire this year from teaching. She's taught for 33 and a half years, and I've been doing this the last couple of years full time and with you guys, and she's loved it. She has jumped in. She's been buying vintage clothes, purses, basically anything she could find at Goodwills and shops and any stores, anywhere, anything she could find, she buys.
Now I remember you telling me that even on your trips, like you were delivering some stuff to Alabama, some stuff you sold, and then you guys were like, talk about that a little bit, because I think that's where she maybe got hooked.
She got, when we went to Alabama, we delivered to a gentleman down there, and it's a lot of fun. They're great people. But when we leave there, we always stopped at 4 or 5 different places, and actually she bought some from them in Alabama.
Did she?
Yes, in that shop. She bought a piece on the wall.
Okay.
And she liked it. She thought, you know what, I might want to take that home. And then she thought, when we got in the truck and we were on the way back, she goes, I think I might sell that, see if I can make some money on that. And she did. When we got back here, and I think she made like $15 on it.
Okay.
And she was so excited. How
much did you remember how much you had to give for it?
Maybe $15. I think she paid $15.
She broke even?
Yeah. Well, no, she paid 30. She paid $15.
Okay.
Made $15. She sold it for 30.
Now I'm tracking.
No,
okay.
And what I've tried to tell, I told her this too. I said, whatever you buy, I said, try to buy it to where you can put double on it, because then you got to pay all the expenses out of it. Mm-hmm. You also have to pay for your time, your travel, the rent that we have with the booth going on, and then the deductions, the sales. But yeah, she did that. And then we stopped at a couple other places along the way home, and she found some other things that she really liked. And that's kind of how she got hooked on it. And it was fun for her. She awesome. Enjoyed it. It was so much fun.
So once she sold an item and made a little bit of money and thought, man, I did that, and it wasn't teaching, because she's a teacher.
No,
right?
Yeah.
I did something where I bought an item and I sold it, and the only thing I had was a little bit of time invested.
Right.
And I made money off just thinking through something. So this entrepreneurial spirit of buying and selling started to kick in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward to where she's at right now. That was a year ago? Maybe?
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. Actually, yeah.
Probably one of the first times she's ever traded, instead of trading time and service for money.
Right.
She was actually buying, like you said, she's buying a piece.
Investing her own money.
It's such a different thing. She invests her own money, buys a piece, and then sells it, and it's so different. Mindset, Jimmy and I, we had a very different mindset when we were working for somebody. You're working at an hourly rate. I just, when you brought that up, man, it kind of triggered like, wow, yeah, we really do. Sometimes we think about, when we're making money, how to make money. It's for us, you're trading your time for the money. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
But yeah, she's and now
it's gonna be different for her, isn't it?
Oh, it's way different. Yeah, and now though she's kind of, I mean, like I said in the last thing, our garage is full. I mean, because she's got
the buying figured out.
Well, yeah. I mean, what you have to do is get the buying figured out, which she's got that down.
Well, we talked about. I wrote down a couple things here, and the what, like, what do you buy? Right. You mentioned a few things that she knows. You said purses, coats,
vintage jackets,
which is really cool. So she jumped into something that she knew,
that she likes.
She knew and she liked it. So when we talk about how to get started, what are you going to buy?
Right.
What are you going to buy?
Super important note, Josh. You have, so if you don't know how to do anything in this business, if you start buying something that you already like or appreciate or have a little bit of knowledge about, So I mean, most ladies out there, you know about purses. You
Right.
know when you see, that's a Coach, or that's a Louis Vuitton, or that's a Chanel, or that's a whatever, a Nine West. You name the brand, you notice it.
You notice it.
So you see, you know the value. That's an expensive item.
Vera Bradley's are
Vera
always
Bradley.
around. You
So
know,
recognizing something that you're familiar with, and so in Shannon's case, the purses, but in your case, it could be like just going backwards in time. Fishing equipment. There ain't a doubt in my mind. If you've seen a good
Probably gonna
Shakespeare
know
or
what it
whatever,
is.
you're going to know
Real.
exactly what it
Rod
is.
reel.
That's a good buy on that.
right.
Okay, so you find something that you're a little bit familiar with, if you're just starting, a little bit familiar with. And in Shannon's case, she started with that clothing and the purses and stuff. But now, fast forward a year and a half, what'd she do this week?
This week, every time she goes and visits her mom, she has a whole list of places she stops at. She's at Goodwill, and she buys a snowboard. She comes home and she said,
out.
she said, hey, I need you to come out to the car and get something out. And I was like, what? I go out there and there's like a 7-foot snowboard and she's got shoved in the car. And I'm like, what? When did you start buying snowboards and skis? But she said, well, I think it's a good buy. And it was.
There you go. So the what kind of changes, sometimes when you start noticing, man, I've seen these, I know that these sell for, and you're able to pick up. So your what changes a little bit. Maybe
you're using the knowledge that you've acquired without even realizing you've acquired it. Everybody has knowledge about something. Right. And so she's got this knowledge. She's been skiing before and seen the prices of ski equipment,
just
or whatever. Rentals and stuff, and you go out there and you're renting something for $50 a shot, but you buy it and it's hundreds or if not thousands. She realized there's a value in there, and she's seen it for what was it? $25. She's thinking that's underpriced. So there you go. If you're trying to figure out even the most basic way to get in this business, you're finding an item of value that you think is underpriced where there might be a potential to make a profit.
And she likes to do that. I mean, and like you said, she looked it up. Like she looked it up and just a little research on it after she had bought it, and she said, "Well, they're selling online for like $200 and $300." I said, "Well, that's not what you do, though." She said, "No." She said, "I'm putting $80 on it."
Mm-hmm.
So she bought it for $25, put $80 on it, and sold it in about an hour and a half.
An hour and a half
online, because it was a good.
The thing
buy.
about this, she made $55, and it probably only took her maybe 15 or 20 minutes of time.
Right, and she was doing it along with like going to see her mom. I mean, her regular stuff that she does throughout the day. She incorporates what she does into that.
Yeah,
just a little perk on the way.
Just a little, she paid for her gas money, and taking her mom out to dinner.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, Jimmy. Often when I go on vacations, I'm addicted to buying, so obviously I go on vacations. We're down there.
First step, admit you got a problem.
I'm an addict.
Step one. He hasn't passed step one. No. He's got a problem.
The problem's not buying; it's selling. It's keeping up with the buying. But no, seriously though, on vacation, we go on vacation. We're down in Myrtle Beach. You guys were all with us. I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna go check out a couple local shops. See if I can't pick up something to pay for my vacation.
It's always fun to see what they got, like different regions.
Well, I was able to go. I picked up a whole group of sterling silver, underpriced. It was a wholesale situation where they're like, "Yeah, we'll sell you all that stuff," and I'm like, "Oh, that's a good deal." And I almost paid for our vacation off the profit off the silver that I bought there. And I'm finding that Jimmy is starting that same approach, because every time he goes anywhere,
comes back with something.
He's like, "Oh, we can pay for that. Let's go." Well, when we're going on a trip, we're going to pay for it by what I'm buying.
By what I'm buying now. Yeah, and I usually bring it back and sell it to him.
That's okay.
I don't tell him when I'm buying it there.
Right.
When I buy it, bring it home, they say, "Hey, Jacob, I got some stuff that you might like." or we bring it back and we put it in our booth, or we sell it. But yeah, when Shannon and I, when we go places now, we always find, she even gets on her phone, wherever we're at, we're going down the road. She's like, thrift stores near me. Beep. She's like, "Oh, look, there's one here. It's only 50 miles. Well, that's a little ways.
That brings up another thing, what we're talking about here. Like, why are you getting started into it? Is it a hobby?
Yeah.
Is it something that you're doing, like you and Shannon, your significant other? You guys enjoy doing this or spending time together. So
yeah, and
that's
it doesn't
another part of what we're talking about.
Let's talk through that. Earlier, when we were just in eating lunch, we said, "Hey, what are we going to talk about today?" We mentioned this, and there was like 3 things specifically that were brought up. One was somebody entry level getting started. Is it a hobby? Is it just like I'm collecting and I have to get rid of some of my collection? Or is it something where I'm trying to build a passive style income, or actually a full living off of it? So there's these different levels of entering into this business. And so Shannon's doing this obviously as a hobby
Yeah.
at this point.
At this point, we're in good situations where we are both. Well, she will be retired shortly, and we'll both be retired, and we are doing it as a hobby for fun. And I mean, obviously, yeah, you like to turn and make money at it, but it is a lot of fun. It's something for us to do and together.
Yeah.
That we enjoy. That
Yeah,
we really
absolutely.
enjoy doing together, and she's getting more and more into it, which is exciting for me.
Well, you get the thrill of the hunt, like you get to do all those things.
Yes.
That's a lot of
It
fun,
really
too.
is.
And then now
And that's what's cool about it being a hobby.
yes,
It's
that is.
some of the pressure might be off a little.
It is,
Well,
and
so-
then she comes home from her mom's though, and she's excited when she walks in the door. She goes, "Hey, I need you to help me unload the car. Wait till you see what I got." I'm like, I can't wait.
That's awesome.
I can't wait.
I think that's important for anyone that's starting is to kind of identify what level you're wanting to start at. If you're just wanting to to do it because you see people doing it online, you think it could be fun, you're nervous about it, and you just want to try and buy and sell. Start the way Shannon did. You know, you start at a basic level of something that you have a little bit of knowledge about, you recognize it, you buy it. But then let's talk about just a couple ways that somebody might, at entry level, be able to sell something. Even if they find a good buy, it's like, how do I get it sold and make a profit?
Right.
So what do you see that? I would like to talk to you guys. Like, what do you see that as?
Jimmy mentioned too right away that I think a lot of entry people are going to be able to do. If you happen to know somebody in the business, and you know, oh, man, they're into this. I've picked this item up. I can go to them, possibly sell it for a profit. You guys do that with Jacob a lot,
Right.
And then the other one is social media. Sometimes getting on like Marketplace or something like that. Said Shannon did that yesterday.
Yeah, she actually she did it on Marketplace.
Two ways of
That's
getting rid of
two.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
there's two very easy ways
Yes.
that anyone can do it. Now let's talk
Social
about maybe
media.
a couple more.
Social media, someone you may know in the business, and then you've got. I mean, if maybe you're saving up for a yard sale. I know some people
Right.
that buy
Yard-
stuff all year and
Now
save
think
up
about
and have
this.
a
All
huge yard
three of
sale.
these cost you zero in advertising and
Right.
overhead.
Right.
So social media, selling to somebody you know, or having a yard sale. There's three ways that if you're just getting started that you can actually sell something
Yes.
without costing you any more money.
Low to no overhead.
Because overhead is the death
That's
of this business.
Yes.
You know, if
Low
you're
to
not
no
paying
overhead
attention.
is so important.
Well, then you find yourself drowning in overhead. And what's what happens? Because you have not just the overhead of buying stuff, then we did the issue of storage and where you put stuff. And we've done those issues,
Yes.
but
So-
you're right. Overhead is a
controlling your overhead if you're just starting is such an important thing, and I would encourage you, if you've never sold anything before, to try selling first before you even get into a showcase in a mall.
Yeah.
You know, like I think getting a showcase in a mall it's an entry level for probably a person that's a collector that's wanting to sell some of their collection. But if you're just starting at the very beginning of buying and selling, I suggest back that even up a step. There's other ways to sell that doesn't cost much. So you can get on eBay, you can list and sell on there. And after you sell so often, you start getting improved ratings. And there's other platforms, you know, the Whatnot platform for a lot of people that are just, there's
Right.
many platforms.
Right.
Knickknacks that Jocelyn started. There's crazy amount of platforms where people that are just entering can get started. And what I would suggest is when you start, you don't have to go huge. If you're an entry level person, you're especially if you're retired, kind of like Jimmy's situation or Shannon, and you're like, man, I just want to get involved and try some of this. Then when you notice an item, when you're out looking, or rather it's at let's talk about where they might find stuff. Goodwills are great. Any kind of outlet
Thrifts,
store like that,
yeah.
thrift store type situation, yard sales, auctions, local auctions, especially when they're having the live auctioneers out in the yards. You put it on put it on there to your family. Say, hey guys, I'm going to start buying and selling. You guys got anything in your house that you might be willing to part, that you're just ready to kind of get rid of? I might be able to buy off of you. You'd be shocked at how many people in your own family have stuff that they would be like, oh, I'd
Right.
love it if you would get rid of that
Get
stuff.
rid of this. And,
Either maybe I have to pay for it. A lot of
Right.
times, like if you sell, I'll give you half whatever you get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. And you something very crucial that I think people should know when they first get started into it. And it took Shannon a little bit to realize this. You don't have to buy everything you think you can make money on.
That's true.
There's so much stuff. I mean,
what kind of margin?
That's
That's
right. And then
kind of margin are
the
you looking
ordinary
at?
things that are out there. I mean, there's 100,000s of glasses, clear glasses you can put in the kitchen, and you don't have to buy all of them.
So a good point is what Jimmy's saying is limit yourself. If you're going to buy and sell, don't buy and buy and buy and buy everything, because that's how you get merchandise poor or inventory rich, whichever way you want to say it. Where your cash flow runs out and you got all this stuff and then you can't buy anything else because there's nowhere to put it and you got to deal with especially if you're an addict like me, where I'm a buyer. I love to buy.
Right.
You guys were making fun of me this morning. What are you doing buying anything right now?
Yeah, he's talking about going to Florida and buying another trip. And we go into a building and we're like,
As
oh
we
yeah,
kick sideways to shuffle through your building.
this is where are we putting this when you get back?
I don't know. But you know, if entry level guys, make sure you're buy it and sell it. Buying and selling, half of that is selling.
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure you find a place to sell stuff. If it's a garage sale, marketplace, if it's a social media platform, if it's the social media sales points like knickknacks and whatnot, or whatever else, or Poshmark. There's different places, but beginners, go somewhere where you feel comfortable. If you are wanting to sell to a local dealer, work with them. Ask them. Say, hey, you know, if I find some things, you know, that I think you might be interested in, are you interested in buying them? Set that relationship.
It's so
up.
great to have a price point that you know. Maybe you know what they were looking for, and you have a price point that you know they pay.
Yeah,
man, that establishes something really easy for you.
Well, here's an easy one. The costume jewelry is hot right now. Okay, the whole costume jewelry market.
Yeah.
There's so many. Almost every house in America has costume jewelry in it. So you can find it for sale, and usually you can find it at a reasonable price. So if you find somebody that's dealing in it, and they might tell you, hey, I'll pay you, you know, $4 each for this kind of a pin.
Right.
And you find them for $1 at a yard sale. Now all of a sudden you've created where you're making 3 times your money, and you got a steady person you can sell to.
Right.
That's why I have to keep buying. Is I've set up networks of people that I buy from, and they depend on me to buy from them so they can keep their money turning. And it's set. You know, I bought today literally. You know, we bought, I don't even know how many pieces of jewelry today. 500 pieces of jewelry today, or 1,000 pieces of jewelry already today, off of dealers that know I buy jewelry, that buy it specifically for me. So great avenue if you're just getting in this market. Like Jimmy says, he's not afraid to sell to me. You know, so when you figure out where you want to be at, don't be afraid to sell it. One of the biggest roadblocks I see in beginners is they see what it's worth online, and they're like, I don't want to sell it. It says it's worth $20. I want like $19 or $20 out of it. So I think this is really important to know. If you are just getting started in this business, don't try and make top price on everything. You know, learn to turn. Right? Yep. It's a good little motto. Yep. Learn to turn. Learn to sell it. The reason that I buy off of these dealers and they keep bringing me more stuff is they leave room for me to make money.
Right.
And they know that I actually leave room for someone else to make money. So there's 2 levels down. They're not getting retail. They're not even getting top wholesale. They're getting a bottom wholesale price to me. That's what they're selling it to me for. And they're very happy at that price.
Right. Yeah. But when they do that, they already know where they can buy it at. What price level they can buy at.
And so
because they know they have to be here to sell it to you here.
An established price range is huge.
Oh, it's huge, and it's a great thing though. I mean, and also you brought this up like things that are trending and hot. Like over the past, we've had snow all of a sudden here in Ohio for this year.
Shovels are hot.
So, well, what happened is all of a sudden on Marketplace, I see snowmobiles everywhere. As a matter of fact, I know there are at least 3 people in our family that have bought snowmobiles.
Yep.
Over the past 3 weeks that have never owned one before, but we have snow now, so that's trending and hot. So people are selling that stuff and buying it and selling it because they know this is the time of year to do it. No different than the snowboard. It had been mid-January, Shannon would not have looked twice at that snowboard.
Yeah.
But she knew that right now, when we got 10 inches of snow, people are using those things.
Yeah,
and they're looking for
so
them.
off season, she's not looking. If it's summertime out, she's like, I don't know if I want to mess with it. But right now, it's like perfect time.
Right.
So you made a great point, and we talked about this a little bit in the car, or maybe this morning somewhere. You said, know when to buy the out of season stuff.
Yes.
You know, so like right now, greatest time to buy Christmas ornaments and decorations and stuff. Right now, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, wholesaling it out, getting rid of it, and moving on.
Because they don't want to pack it up. They have a storage issue problem. They have a storage problem.
A lot of times, maybe they've bought a deal and they've cleared it out, and they're like, "Okay, let's get rid of this, and move on to the next thing."
Right.
Season's out, so.
So let's talk some more about entry points of buying and selling. We kind of went through the novice, somebody that's never really done it. Right. How do I get started? Now, what about the next level up? Let's say somebody has been collecting, they've been buying stuff for their own houses, decorating, and they've actually got into collecting an item. I find that typically at the Antique Center, about 1/3 of our dealers out here started by collecting, maybe more than that, could even be half. They were collecting something, and then they realized, I got to get rid of some of my collection.
Well, actually,
so let's talk about that.
That's why I got the showcase to begin with. When I first got the showcase, because I had been collecting, for the whole time I was working at the, in my regular job, I had not stopped really buying and dabbling in it, but I had collected metal lunchboxes for 25 years. And I was like, okay, now I want to get back into this buying and selling stuff. How do I get rid of those? And for me, it was, okay, I have a collection. I'll get a showcase. I'll put it in there and start selling it. And that's what I did. And all of those types of things that I had collected, all the toys throughout the years, I started selling them.
I think you make a good point. If you've invested and you collected, and now you've got money, you've got years of collecting, and you're like, I want to start selling my collection. I don't want to just give it away.
Right.
And we have this happen here at the Antique Center all the time. I feel that's a good candidate to start into a showcase.
Yeah.
You get a showcase where you're renting a showcase for $100 or under a month. All you got to do is sell 2 or 3 items a month, and you're going to pay not only the overhead but get your money back and possibly make a little bit of profit just from a few items a month. And a lot of our showcase dealers, we actually give incentives back per 1,000 they sell. We have some showcase dealers that hardly ever pay rent because they get free money back. So right. My point is this: if you're a collector and you're thinking, how do I start selling off my collection? One way, get a showcase in a good antique center. It's a great way. One platform. Another platform, eBay's. I think that's a great spot for an eBay person. Somebody that collects. You're knowledgeable. You know what you're doing. Don't be afraid to put it out there and put it on eBay.
Yeah, when you've been collecting, you've gained some knowledge on what it's going to be worth or what you need out of it because you know what you paid for it, and so that kind of establishes a base price for you too. A lot of people struggle with that. With how much do I try to get out of this? You'd mentioned it earlier. Mm-hmm. Am I going for full retail, or am I trying to just get rid of some stuff?
That might decide where you put your stuff too.
Sure.
If you're trying to get full retail price out of it, maybe you don't want to put it in a showcase because if you're wanting the end price out of something, that's harder to sell. Sometimes it depends on what it is.
We've had a couple dealers over the past month that have said this: I want my stuff to go to somebody that's going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that a lot of times means more than whatever money it brings. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's like, well, I really want this to go to somebody that's going to enjoy it. The dealer we were talking to yesterday, he started exactly like you were talking. He started with a collection, and now his collection has grown to the point that he upgrades his collection, and the stuff that he's upgrading, he'll put it in his house, and the stuff that he's bringing in right out into his showcase. So it's really a good way for him to keep his collection rolling.
And
that's a turnover too.
Yeah, it's really fun for him.
So collection, if you're one of the folks out there and you've got that collection and you're thinking, how do I start selling it? I feel like that's a good entry point. You might also, if you're at that level, consider auction houses. Different auction houses sell different range stuff. And there's so many different variety of auction houses, from like household stuff to specialists like a Morphe's that specialize in toys, and like you can go A to Z on auction houses. But find someone that sells the kind of stuff that you have, fair commissions, and you're thinking, hey, this might be a way for me to start selling some of my collection as well.
Well, that's how you got started too, Jacob. That's how we got started at the selling something at an auction house.
Yeah, I've learned auction business that way.
Yeah, and we did it when we got started. Me and Jason.
Some people are addicted to. I'm giggling because some people are addicted to gambling. But I remember it's a gamble when you put something across the auction block.
It is.
Starting in Donaldsville,
we did it. And
Dad let us buy and sell, and if it's sold, you lost money. Everybody's looking at you like, well,
there you go.
You learned a little lesson there, didn't you?
We learned a lot of hard lessons over the times.
But it was. We started, like you said, though. I mean, I remember at the very bottom, I was 18, 19 years old, maybe even younger than that, and Dad was trying to get us involved in it, maybe 14, 15, 16, but the first thing I ever bought, I'll never forget it, was a large box of kitchenware utensils, pots and pans and glasses and cups, and just a large box of kitchenware. And it was in a row outside, and I gave $5 for the box. And I was like, all right, I gave $5 for this box of there's a whole bunch of stuff in it. All this stuff. But it's pot. But we took it to our auction, and Dad was like, okay, now what are you going to do with that? And I said, well, I was going to sell it. He goes, what are you going to sell it in that big giant box again? And are you going to, he taught me, he said, well, take what you bought in that and take the good stuff and put it in a box. Take the other stuff and put it in a box. To take what's rest and put it in another box. So I divided it up into 3 boxes, and I think they each brought like $5 a piece again. So I made $10 minus commission, whatever.
Right.
But it taught me how to buy, break it down, sell it, and then also the stuff that you had left, don't be afraid to let it go and get rid of it, sell that too.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. What you bring up is a great business model is to buy in bulk and sell separately.
Yeah.
I mean, companies, corporations do this all the time. You know, anytime you're going out in retail, they're buying it by the hundreds of thousands, and you're selling it singly. In this business, you can do the same thing. You can buy a group of stuff and then break it down and sell it separate. I do that with jewelry, gold. I do it with silver. I do it with costume jewelry. I do it with antiques. Almost everything I buy in groups, even collections. I love to buy collections because you can cost average out. If something doesn't bring enough, something else does. So don't be afraid to do that. Take and you buy a bulk group of something, and then you're selling it separate. So right there, Josh, grab one of those jars. Just talk. There's a great example, of how that happens. We sell between, I don't know, 50, about 50 of these
50
a week.
items.
About 50 items like this a week. Where this is one jar of jewelry. There's between 200 and 400 pieces of jewelry in this, and we're going to sell this by the jar. And they usually bring anywhere from, I don't know, $40 to $100 range, depending on the jar. But you got 100 items in there, so now you got $1 an item in the stuff. Well, if you can sell
And then
20 of those items out separately,
you take that jar,
this is exactly what happens right here.
and
Check it out.
well, this is a lot of faces, but you put it, you separate it
You separate it out in the trays.
in the trays.
Now you sell choice on the tray. So you took a jar or a group, and now you're selling it separately. And so that business model in this industry is a great model.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, I love buying really great individual items too. I'm not afraid to step up and buy a base or whatever for any amount of anything, if I think I can make a profit on that as well.
Right.
But having at least an idea of where you're going to sell it, how much you're going to sell it for, general range. So if you're going to be in this business getting started, are you going to be the wholesaler? Are you going to be a person that tries to retail? And then are you really wanting to get in this business full time and make a living on it? Because that just elevates another level.
That's a whole another level there.
Let's talk about that.
Whew.
That's the next level.
That's the level that goes here, because you have all kinds of things to consider, making a business out of it, depending on what level you're at.
So we all started when we were young in this business because our family was already in and out in the auction business. But I remember Dad very specifically when I wanted to actually start actively buying and selling, he gave me $20. Say, here, start.
Go learn.
Go learn.
Learn.
Buy what you want, sell it. And so that's what I started with, and that $20 just kept leading into more stuff, and I started collecting at that time. I started collecting anything I could find with a Coca-Cola on it or Star Wars on it. But that was that day. I was a teenager. That's what was interesting. But then over time, you learn, like, I don't need to buy 25 different Coke bottles. I need to get one better Coke bottle and get rid of those 25, or the McDonald's glasses from the Coca-Cola glass from McDonald's. I started buying all those. Well, you realize there's unlimited amounts.
There's about 10 million of those.
So I'm not going to buy all those up. So as a little kid, you start learning these lessons, but it's the same thing. The principles that you learn apply at any level. As you advance in any category, you're going to have common items, and then you're going to have a little bit more rare items, and then more difficult and more expensive and hard to find items that bring desirability to them. And once you start learning that most basic concept, now you can start putting together a business model based on those kinds of things. So we were able to, because we were in the auction business, I've always been able to sell at auction. I've always had a platform to sell, and I've always bought according to the platform I sell at.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing as a person that's going to sell for a full time in this business. You got to know where you're going to sell at, and then you got to establish where do you want to be at in that, and what is your goals? If your goal is to make $1,000 a month on this business as a full-time person, or is your goal to make $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month? Like I know people in this business that make $1 million a year buying and selling antiques, and I know people that are at entry level that are trying to make a few hundred a year. But the ones that are in this business that are buying and selling every day, you got to do it. You got to learn. You can't be afraid to take some risk.
Entry level hard hat, yellow. You see people in yellow hard hats, they're entry level. Those are the workers right there. That's where I'm at. Now here's where we go with that. Now we got the mediocre level here. This is where you're managing. You're at the mediocre level. You're buying it. You're making a little money. You're better than those yellow hats there that I wear. And then you have that final stat when you see the orange hat show up, you know the boss is here. You're like the owner of the
That
company.
even has reflectors. They
Yeah,
definitely don't want
they
that
definitely
to get
don't
hurt.
want that guy getting hurt. So when he shows up with the orange hat on, the owner, you're like, okay,
that's
that's a
Papa's
whole
hat.
nother level. But there's, like you say, you wear many hats doing things. That's our motto. I mean,
Literally.
it really is.
Literally.
It's literally our motto.
But you know, it's something that a lot of people, I think, they don't think about as they're wanting to do this full time, is that they think about, well, I can get where I can sell, you know, $5,000 or $10,000 worth of stuff a month.
Right.
But what they don't consider is if you're getting this full time, is your overhead and how much profit are you making on that $5,000 or $10,000. So $10,000 a month is an easy number to think through. If you're selling $10,000 a month in antiques, and you're only making like a 20% range on it, you're making $2,000 profit. Well, how much? And that's from the buy to the sell point. What about the overhead in between?
Right.
And then your cost of living if you're going to do this full time. Man, you got kids, you got family, you got food. You guys know about all the cost of living just like I do.
Well, not just that. Then all of a sudden, if you're doing it full time, you have to find ways not only to really turn things, but now all of a sudden you've got, okay, so you went and hired an employee to help you organize your
Growing
stuff.
pains.
Oh boy! Then you got next thing you know. I mean, heck, you got 50 employees. Now not only that. Now you're responsible. You feel. I mean, that's a heavy burden. You kind of feel responsible for
for sure.
for people and their lives, and then you're like, okay. But that's, I mean, like I said, that's the orange hat people. We don't. I don't worry so much about that.
Yeah,
I try to keep that hat off my head.
What I get excited about that I see in this business happening with young people, resellers. I'm not saying the antiques industry, but I'm saying resellers. I know a couple very young people that are reselling for a living, and they started off going to college and they were doing it on the side. And they're like, I'm like, I mean, the gentleman that we know that sells shirts.
Yeah.
You know, he's actually selling to Hollywood sets now, and they need a vintage T-shirt, vintage T-shirt stuff that we wore as kids.
Yes,
are bringing $1,200 and $3,000 a shirt. I don't know anything about that market.
Me either.
But he does.
And he's not afraid to buy.
Yeah,
you spend huge money on vintage shirts, and it's like, wow. He's like, well, I know the market. I know I can get this out of it, and so it's just knowing your market again.
He used to do shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's seen the change in the trends in the market, and then something you got to watch out for, Jacob, when you start getting into business. Like even with the shoes things, he got out of it. He said because there was so many fakes, so many replicas, so many. Okay, I just paid $1,000 for these shoes, and I took them to the guy that's going to buy them from me. He's going to give me $1,500, and he said they're worth $50,
right?
Because they're not real.
Yeah,
that's devastating.
It's devastating.
Or the market does start to drop. Like
everything changes. Everything changes. So you're talking about today's segment with buying and selling in relationship to what you guys both just said. It's something we have to reflect on is fakes, change in market, and not overextending what your abilities are. I've learned the hard ways of overextending with cash as well as...
a box of them in there that we just bought, but we knew the rings that we just bought. Talk about buying something that's fake.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing. We you got to be careful. We actually went through and we didn't buy it as real.
No. We were able to show them,
but we were able to show the folks that brought it to us a bunch of fake silver. It was all marked 925.
Right.
None of it tested silver. It was all fake, and we were able to explain that. But that's something you have to watch out for, especially if you're risking. When you're buying and selling, you're risking. You're taking chances and you're risking. Make sure you don't risk beyond your means, where you won't hurt yourself. And I just want to stress that again. I've seen in this business someone inherit money before, and they want to jump in 2 feet. I'm going to jump in the antiques business and become a dealer. And they go to an auction and they start buying everything because it all looks like it's great prices. What they don't realize is that's what it sells for all over the country, the same price, and you can find it in abundance at that price. And instead of getting at the price where everywhere else they're actually overpaying in the market, and then they're trying to sell it, and nobody's willing to pay more than what they bought it for. And we've had customers in our business that have done that with, big amounts of money, $200,000 and $300,000 and $400,000 of antiques they buy. They open up a shop. They have all this overhead. They're overwhelmed by how slow some of the stuff they bought moves, and then they find themselves wanting to auction it off just to pay bills and get cash flow again. Yeah. And I'm just saying, be careful, be cautious, take a step. Yeah. Don't do a complete leap with everything and risk it all. But risk what you're willing to let go of. When people go to Vegas, They
got
what
that
do they
certain
do?
amount they take. I'm gonna
Take
go
what
lose.
you're willing to lose.
I'm gonna go lose $500.
That's right.
But yeah, that's a great starting point for people even to understand that part of it too. Is not just where to find stuff and how do you get started, but also, okay, I got $100. I'm gonna take this 100. I'm gonna keep track of it. I'm gonna do it this way, and I'm not gonna overextend. I'm gonna start small, but that's key to all of it. I know people too that do the same thing, and they see you see someone else doing it, and you're like, I want to be like them. I want to do what they do, or I want to do this or that. You don't always know the backstory. Right. It's been years and years. I mean, you've been doing this for your whole life since all you can remember. 8 years old.
Yeah, literally, this is my 40th year of buying and selling.
And so, if I have questions or something, I'm not afraid to. The phones are awesome nowadays because I can call Jacob or FaceTime and say, "Hey, look, I got this piece. I don't know much about it. What do you think?" I could turn the phone and he'll be like, "Well, that's fake." I'm like, "Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it." How do you know? I don't even ask how he knows anymore because you just know because the knowledge is so. There's so much of it there that you've seen it.
Well, and that's
you
the
can't
thing.
gain wisdom.
The
by
thing
not
that you
seeing
have to, it's just like a wrestler. Lucas was wrestling, right, when he was a kid. The wrestling coach said you can't skip any levels. Like you can't go out there and wrestle at a high D1 level when you don't even have to do the basics yet. So buying and selling is similar to anything else. You have to learn the basics. You've got to learn any category, anything you're doing, how it works, the process. How do I find it? What can I actually sell it for? How much profit's left? What's my overhead in between? And don't overextend yourself. I mean, literally, we went through great times and we went through hard times. I have had so many lessons, life lessons in this business where, we've gotten to the point, Josh, where I remember one time, Silk and I we emptied every drawer of change we had in our entire house, rolling quarters and dimes, to pay our staff. Yep. But we're out of money. Like credit cards were maxed, everything's maxed out, and then I gotta pay our payroll. Wasn't very smart. Learned great lessons through it, but I'm just saying, don't overextend yourself. I'm saying this from a place of experience because I have, and those are hard to recover from. Making a bad investment, man. I bought one time, Josh. I lost so much money on a group. I had no idea how I was ever going to get out of it. I thought, man, I overpaid for this. I thought I knew what I was doing. It was when I first got into the art market.
That's one you got to really be careful in. Talk about fakes.
Right? Oh my God!
Wow,
crazy market. I got into a group, bought it. Ended up spending. It was a lot of money, 100,000 on this group. We're selling it. Everybody watching this thinking, man, Jacob's making all kind of money. These paintings are bringing 2 and 3 and 4,000 each. The problem is I paid twice that much for them. Right. So we were selling at half what we were paying for, but I was going by price guides and books. And before I really understood the art market and the difference from what you see online as a sold retail comparable to what somebody's willing to pay for it, and the difference from retail and wholesale in the art world, man, I got slammed. And it's been like 20 years ago, but I learned such great, valuable lessons. First off, number one lesson, I don't care what it says in a book, something is worth, it's only worth what someone's willing to give you.
That's right.
Number one and most important thing you got to learn in this business, something is only worth what somebody is willing to pay you. No more.
That's right.
You can't get any more out of it than you're willing to get than somebody's going to pay you.
Sharpie.
What you got here, Jimmy?
Well, here's what I want to say.
He's drawing it out again. What do we got?
This is
the buying and selling conversation we've had.
That's art, and I put my name on it. See, that's some kind of art right there. Now, awesome. A lot of times, art
priceless
stuff you look like you just threw something on the board and they signed it. Someone says, "Well, that's a $10,000 piece of art." How is that worth $10,000? Just because someone signed it.
That's funny.
Because someone's name's on it. Because it's the artist that did it. It's incredible. The art, I don't dabble in the art unless I like it. For me, because of that, I see things.
I know you bought 2 paintings to put in your house in the past.
I have, but they're I bought 2. Not very nice.
Like them, right?
I like them. They're oil paintings, and I met them at a gas station off of Facebook Marketplace.
He's buying a bathroom art out of a gas station.
But always, I'm telling you this too. If you are getting started and you're buying, and a good helpful hint, if you're buying from someone, meet them in a very social public place to exchange things and buy stuff, and
because
be cautious
Sure.
Because there's a lot. I mean, there's bad things that go on out there. There really is.
Now, what's really interesting on this topic, Jimmy, is I can talk from the perspective of being in the business in antiques, but you get to talk in perspective from being in law enforcement in the courthouse. Like, you've seen the bad stuff that people have done in these deals.
And knowing that, I mean, sometimes I think it jades you towards life in ways, but other ways I think it helps you. Because there are people out there that will definitely try to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
There's people out there that will they'll steal from you. They'll rob you. I mean, there's bad people in the world that do bad things. Now, most people are not like that.
Right.
But that's why I say when you do things, you meet them in public places.
So for instance, Shannon, your wife, is just getting into buying and selling, and she always meets, like, she just sold something on Facebook Marketplace, and don't give out your personal information.
No.
You know, if you're just starting
Or your
this
home,
business,
where you live.
don't tell somebody your personal stuff where you could become a victim. You know, make it public, be safe, be smart. Don't put yourself out there in a bad way.
Right. Yeah. No, we met at the Donaldsville Mall.
The Donaldsville
Mall. Great place. To
that's you can't get in
there are some places, some police agencies that actually have spots for you to meet.
Yeah.
So it might be something in your neighborhood or in your town that they have a place that's kind of designated for that.
Yeah.
Right.
So something to think about. You know, if you're buying and selling, you're getting into this first starting off, and you got to meet somebody, because that can be a little strenuous.
And
meeting somebody that you don't know, there's going to be a transaction. So yeah, you guys are exactly right.
Well, husband and wife, let's, for instance, like Shannon and I went. I go out to make the transaction. She stays in the car. Car is running. She has her cell phone with her. And anything awry happens, she knows what to do. But the people that we were meeting did the exact same thing.
Right.
Husband and wife. She was in the car. He comes out with the item. So you know that. I mean, so you just got to be careful.
Here's something else to just talking about cautions out there as you start, especially beginners. You don't know these hidden things in the industry that are out there. There's a lot of people that are going to use stolen credit cards, stolen IDs, bad checks to pay for stuff.
Right.
I mean, we have personally seen it. I've been victim of it many a times over the years. I got a wall of shame, of how we've been taken advantage of.
Right.
So make sure your payments are secure. If you're taking money from someone you don't know, if it's check, is it a check? Maybe it should be cash. We got a payment one time from somebody in Europe on PayPal. Customs broke the item getting shipped, so they got a broken item arrived, and PayPal automatically took the money out of our account, and it was a $2,400 vase. Well, we sold it in good faith. The insurance wouldn't cover it because Customs broke it. It was outside of insurance. Customs wouldn't pay for it because they don't have to, whatever. So French Customs broke it, and the guy that received it said, "I'm not paying for an item I didn't get."
Right.
So what happens?
You
the
ate
seller just ate it.
Yeah.
It was $2,400 and change. Out of your piggy bank. It just goes bye bye.
I've heard this before, and it holds true most of the time. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
With saying that, Emily and I just had a conversation. We run an Airbnb, and we had it come to our attention that, now this didn't happen to us. This was something that happened to somebody else, but it was a story that we heard, and it was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine. Somebody that was renting an Airbnb called up a dealer and said, "Hey, I got some stuff in here to sell," and they sold the stuff out of the Airbnb.
Wow.
So that can happen.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's too good to be true, or just make sure you know who you're dealing with, how you're dealing with it, where you're getting the merchandise from, all of that stuff does matter. Stolen merchandise. You guys are talking about, that's the last thing you want to ever have or be a part of. And so just think about all those things. Those are, man, we got deep into this, didn't we?
Getting a receipt is huge.
Here's a good story for you guys.
Know who you're buying from.
We were actually selling a deal for a gentleman. And you remember this, Jimmy, because the sheriff department showed up in mid-auction.
Yeah.
And they called me off the auction block. Had Dad go auction, and they came back there and they said, when you sell the last item of today's sale, you need to write the check to the sheriff's department for all of these goods. And they had a court order there because the goods, I don't remember the situation, but we were doing everything in good faith. We had contracts and everything else, and so they decided to go ahead and let us sell it all out. But we got it changed midstream. We had to we rewrote the checks and put it right into the, I don't know what it was, some county sheriff, whatever.
So this was something that was consigned in?
It was consigned in. I didn't even own it. Yeah, I didn't even own it, but it was a situation. I mean, you can find yourself in so many crazy situations.
It was someone else's stuff. I mean, it was like family thing.
It was a divorce situation or what happened or inheritance or whatever, but they were arguing. The court said, okay, it's already at auction. They were going to publicly auction it because of what was going on. So they said, don't tell the auctioneer, but when it's over, make them write us the check.
Right.
Wow.
So they came in with a court order.
And it
Well,
went to
good for them to handle it that way.
Yeah,
That
I
worked
mean,
out probably
otherwise
best
here
for
I'm
everybody.
out thousands of dollars in advertising and overhead and everything else.
Right,
Our
sure.
entire auction was around that monthly auction was built around this one estate
Right.
grouping, and so just you never know.
So buying and selling, this is well, we've
it
gotten
gets
into all kinds
tricky.
of goodies, haven't we?
And just while you're on that subject, Jacob, I recommend this to people too that are nervous about doing things. And if you have someone to take with you when you're buying something, especially if you know they know you're bringing cash, they're bringing a couple $100, $300-400. If you're buying large items for $1,000, when you get to the place and you get out of your vehicle to go with the person to see it, don't take that money with you. Leave it in the car with the other person. Just in case it's something crazy, then you don't have the money on you. You won't lose it. You won't get it out and they'll take it and run, or there's all kinds of scenarios that happen. I never take the money with me.
Yeah.
When I leave the car, I leave it in the car. I see the items, and then we make the deal, and then
Steals car now.
I put space between myself and the person. I tell them I'll be right back, and I always go to the opposite side of the car that they're on to get in it to my wife. But just so many things that you don't think about that I'm aware of because that was my career for my life. And then do things that way, because there's just be aware, be awake. If you have somebody take them with you. It's
All those things that we just shared, though, don't let that
that hinder what you do.
buying and selling is so much
It's fun.
fun. It really is. I hope that if you're thinking about getting into buying and selling, I hope that you do start off with hitting, some Goodwills or some garage sales or maybe some auctions, public auctions, or, it's a great way to get involved in it. But it's a fun thing to do. It's so much
exciting.
fun.
The exciting part about this is the adrenaline you get when you're selling.
Yes.
You buy and you get an adrenaline, but then when you sell, and especially at auction, Lucas and I last night we're sitting here selling a whatnot sale, and we had a Jack in the Pulp that we were selling. It was a Stu Band Jack in the Pulp, and we figured it was going to bring $400 or $500 range. And it kept going.
I don't know what it brought, but all I know is I heard Lucas talking with Joe earlier, and he said, Joe, last night during the sale, I couldn't contain myself. He goes, it was so exciting to watch this piece. And I was like, I know what it is as soon as you say it. He was so excited. He said, I was so excited to watch this piece sell. He goes, it was awesome.
Yep. It's exactly right. And then it ended up getting up to over $1,000.
Jay, we talked about
Lucas
this.
was right there, and he was losing. He was like, because we're partners in that, and it was a good sale.
Well, you said there was a few other items before that you guys lost a little bit of money on.
Lost like 3 or 4 items in a row.
It was
decent
like
money.
And then this one's coming up. You're like nervous, and
Very nervous.
finally it was like
nervous energy.
Well, I find that out that that's why I like playing the averages and buying and selling. I like buying groups, because usually in a group something takes off and something fails. But we sold, I think the 3 items before that, each one of them, we lost $70 on one, we lost $50 on one, $20 on one. I'm thinking we're $100 some down before this, and then this is the best piece, and I'm getting really nervous. And Lucas says, "But we've done this long enough." I'm like, "It'll be all right."
Right? Yeah.
But that experience that he had, that was pretty special.
That's good.
But that's why I like selling. I love auctions because you never know. People that sell at auction, they're hooked on selling at auction. I don't like selling something to someone personally. Like, so if that jack that we sold, someone seen it on one of our YouTube videos. They offered to buy it. They wanted me to pull it. They came and looked at it. They're like, "I'll buy it right now. Just tell me the price." I'm like, I sell at auction. If you're gonna buy it, you gotta buy it at auction.
And
right?
that is no kidding. Jacob loves to sell at auction because it's that thrill of you never know.
It really is.
I mean, it's something you just never know. But you're
Think
talking
about this: when you want something at an auction, sometimes you're willing to pay twice what it's worth. Because you're like, I know exactly where that's going in my house.
Right. If I want something at an auction, what it's worth doesn't enter my mind, because I like it and I can get it here now.
What he said earlier, what you're willing to pay for it, right?
Yes, and I might not be. It might take me a long time to ever find that item again.
Yeah.
So you know what? If I want it, I might buy it. I might not. But if I really want it, I'm like, that's something I want. And people are like, "Wait, you gave way too much for that?" I'm like, "No, I didn't, because it's going home with me."
That's funny.
And that's what you have to watch out too when you're at places buying and selling, and you're buying stuff, and all of a sudden something seems like it's going high or whatever for you. It might be something someone's taking home, because I've learned you can never outbid someone that's taking it home.
That's true. Or as a side note here, You guys all remember the high chair. I don't know if you guys,
Yes.
You remember the
The
high
high
chair
chair.
in Donaldsville?
Yes.
That we sold. I don't even remember what the price was.
I think
It was
it
some
brought
crazy amount of numbers.
$2,000
For an
It
oak
was an
high
oak
chair.
wood high
Two
chair.
family members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both sat in that high chair as babies, and they both wanted it. The high chair is realistically worth $150, $200.
Yeah.
And
I think it brought around $2,000.
It was a lot. I don't
It was a
remember the
lot
final
of money,
price,
but
but
I remember that like it was yesterday because I was like, I started looking at like, what is special about this high chair?
got
What is
gold
so
casters
special
on it or
about
what?
it?
What's it got?
What is going on? But you know what? It had a very huge sentimental value, and you can't put prices on that.
You can't.
There's never a price to put on that.
Can't put a price on a memory, can you?
No,
they're priceless.
You know, though, Jacob, you brought up something that I really hope people do when they buy things. It's a very good thing, and I try to do it when I'm out at yard sales or places that you can do it. Putting stuff together. Like I see an item that I want, and it's close to the price that I could get out of it, but I like it. And then I see some other items sitting around, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, I'd like that, but hold on. So I put 6 or 8 or 10 pieces together and say, how about for all of that? Give me a deal on that. And then people are willing to do that. They're more willing to do.
Let's talk
with
about
you
that
and
on both
negotiate
sides. Okay, so as a seller, if I sell one item and I'm making like $10 or $20 on an item to somebody, it's like, yeah, it's okay. There's not a lot of room to negotiate. But when
Right.
you throw 8 items up, and that's 160 profit on 8 items if it's making 20 an item. Now all of a sudden it's like I don't have to make 160 on this deal. I can make $100 and be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're saving $60 on that side. And you're like, man, I got more together, and he took off a big chunk, so now it actually makes it where it's worthwhile for me. So
Right.
that it's not that you're trying to take advantage of a
That's it.
seller, but it's the opposite. As a seller, I would rather sell you 20 items. I
Definitely
turn
makes it
cash.
more lucrative on both ends.
I
Yes.
did it
Yeah.
this summer with what? You remember what I did it with? I sold them at the Oktoberfest.
Something that you bought that you sold at Oktoberfest. You
Yes.
buy it off me? Who'd you buy it
No,
off?
that was a bunch of stuff. I bought it at a yard sale.
Those cars.
The cars.
Yeah.
Cars, yes.
I
The
The
remember
guy
those cars
had
that you bought.
200 or 300 cars. I mean, very
Like
nice.
die-cast cars.
Die-cast
Yeah,
cars.
die-cast
Die-cast old cars, real metal.
Yeah.
And he had, I think he had $12 a piece, $15 a piece on them. But there was like 280 of them or something. There was a whole bunch of them. The price he wanted, he figured all of them up individually, and it was like $600 or whatever it was. And I said, man, if you bought them individually, I figured it up in my head. But I looked at him and I was like, you know what? I said, would you take $200 for all these cars? I said, give me $200. Well, $200 was $200. Then he was done and rid of them. And he was like,
He
you
got
know
rid of
what?
them.
Yeah, he said, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get rid of them. He said, I'm piecing them out. He goes, this is my second day. He said, I'll do it.
Yep.
So I gave him $200 for a whole bunch of cars, everything he had left. That he was happy with it. He got to walk away. We wrapped them up, and then then you can sell them to someone else cheap.
Yeah.
And still make money on them. And those are deals you run into, though.
So I do that. I most of the buying I do, I buy in bulk, and you guys see me now. I mean, we'll buy. It doesn't matter if it's a $200 deal or a $20,000 deal. It's most often it's in bulk, and most of the time, the dealers I'm working with want to sell me in bulk.
Yep.
And generally, it doesn't even take us that long of a time to come together on price. I mean,
Right.
it's pretty fast ordeal. But both parties are happy that way because
Yes.
the guys that sell, and if you've got a person that's willing to buy in bulk, it's like, yeah, I don't have to worry about selling anymore the time, right? I got all that done in an hour or half an hour instead of having to go to flea market shows and time is
Right.
money and whatever on the sell side. And on the buying side, if I can buy that much volume, time again. I don't have to go shopping everywhere to find all that stuff.
Right.
And I can buy it off one person and make a fair price, a fair profit. So, yeah, buying in bulk is an absolute secret in this industry if you're going to be in it full time. Obviously you can always be a specialist and buy one item at a time and flip it and make good money if you're but that takes a lot of skill. The skill level it takes to buy one single item compared to buying a group of stuff, different levels, and
right.
so if you're getting in this industry full time, especially, and you want to learn how to make a living on it, try and buy in group bulk estates, collections. And piece them out, and then when you get done, don't be afraid to let go of the leftovers, and
Right.
move on to the next. The next thing is going to be a fast-moving, quick pace.
You know what we're really getting at right here, to be honest with you, is no different than when you do anything else. If you would like to do something like this and you're trying to get started, no matter what level it is, get a hold of people that are doing it. Talk to people that are doing it at whatever level you're trying to get into, because it's no different than trying to be a coach or a teacher or anything else. The way you learn things is to be around people and ask people that are doing it, have done it, because they can save you a lot of probably headache and hard learning lessons and all kinds of things. But you want to do something, you got to put yourself around people that are doing it. And try to figure out, ask questions. Don't be afraid to take a pen and a paper, ask questions.
I do the same thing here, Jimmy. I'll talk to our dealers that, they are very knowledgeable in a certain item. I always love to go and ask, hey, I came across this, what do you think? Or what should I look for? And in this industry, it's been my experience that most people are willing to help you or share their knowledge to help you in whatever situation you're in. So I love our dealers when it comes to that. They really... they love to talk about their items and also what you need to look for. Those things help out so much. So like you're saying, you're getting started into it. You're wanting to start collect a certain thing. Maybe you're wanting to collect sterling rings, or maybe start buying and selling sterling rings, and somebody tells you, watch out for the fakes. So it's just something that, it is definitely all a growth. But
just because it says 925 doesn't mean it is 925.
Right. So we covered a bunch here. I wrote down, I was like, well, what are we going to talk about? So I just put, how do we get started? The where, the what, the how, the who, the why. I think we covered all of it.
We got it all covered?
I was sitting there looking, I was like, man, I think
that's not bad then. We've done all
pretty
right.
much covered all of it. And
Well, from each one of those topics we talked about, we could talk in depth for hours about them. So this is an overview, but if you're out there, I think the most important thing, whatever you're going to risk, just the same mentality that people that go to Vegas.
Yeah.
Put aside what you're willing to take a risk on, that amount of cash or whatever your resources are, that you might
know your purpose.
You know what I mean? Don't be afraid, but don't overexpend. Don't spend too much. Have a plan.
Yep.
How am I going to sell when I buy? Who am I going to sell it to? What level am I wanting to be a person that sells one item a week or one item a month, or just happen to start going to Goodwill's looking for things that might be able to make a profit on?
Mm-hmm.
So just know where you're at. If you want to be full time, there's so much more to talk about. If you're going to do this full time, you've got accounting, you've got insurance, you've got employees. If you get their vehicles, you start adding all that stuff up. Different level, right?
There we go. Whole another level, right?
Whole another level. But this segment is more built for the person that's you don't need those things.
Yeah.
You're just getting into this. You like these guys right here. They're got careers established already, retiring. Shannon getting into business. Just do it. Just do it. Don't be afraid. Take a little bit of a risk. Try it. The worst case, the time you will learn the most is when you fail.
Yes.
Right? So every time you buy it and sell it and lose money, or don't make any money, or spend too much time or energy trying to figure it out, the next time you're not going to do it the same way. So it will help you get better.
There's been so many deals that we've worked tirelessly, and you're like, I just hope we break even. At the end of it.
And then there's sometimes when I say, I've spent more for less.
What did we say today? Well, it's only $10. I've spent that on a cheeseburger before. So at least we're getting something here. So we definitely worked through all that. That's fun.
We do. And have fun, man. More than any of it, have fun. This business if you're stressing out, if it makes you so nervous to put a little bit of money out where you can't sleep at night, this is probably the wrong business for you. Just be a buyer collector. Don't try and resell if it stresses you out that much. You can't let it keep you up. And just have fun with it.
Because what it'll do is it lets you make connections with people. Yeah. This business is, I'm telling you what, I've done a lot of stuff in my life. And this business, man, you talk about people that are fun, genuine, nice, full of knowledge, wanting to share it with you, hoping you succeed. There's a lot of great stuff that goes on with the people that you meet and with antiques and doing things like that. So man, just enjoy the company and the new friendships that you're going to build along the way of the journey too, because it is a journey. There is no end to this. There might be a beginning. You might be the first thing you bought or sold or whatever, but it's a continuous journey that goes on and on and on as long as you want it to go. And it's fun. The ride is fun.
That's fun. A fun thing I always say is I bought my education. I never went to college, but I paid for several college degrees on my failures in this business.
Yeah.
And the art, that was a perfect example. I said I had an art degree, but I learned more off of losing all the money on that art than a 4-year degree would have got me.
Yeah.
I learned more about art, and I took that knowledge, and I bought many collections since then, and been on the other side of it. Don't be afraid.
I got a piece of art to sell him. It's at home.
It's at home.
It's my diploma. It cost me about $65,000.
Yeah, it's worth all kinds
It's framed on the wall.
Yeah.
it's something he could buy.
Yeah.
I'll sell it half price.
I'll give you 50 cents for it. All right, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's conversation. Again, this is our Let's Go segment, Berner Brother Antiques. We're here at the Heart of Ohio Antique Center. If you're not familiar with those, the Heart of Ohio Antique Center is America's largest antique center, 122,000 square foot, 1 mile inside under roof with, we're guessing over 1 million items for sale.
Full of great dealers that got started somewhere.
Yeah, they all
And that's
started
you.
somewhere. There's
That's
700. There's 700 dealers here, and you could be the next one that comes.
And they're
through the
all
door.
on their journey at some point along the way,
Yes.
enjoying the ride.
Let
The
us
ride
know.
never ends.
Let us know a topic you'd like for us to talk through. If we've got some knowledge, experience in it, we'll gladly share what we got. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends about us, and come visit us at the Heart of Ohio. The first visit here, one of us three will buy you lunch. Anytime.
That's right.
Come on out and see us,
I think
guys.
he's up though.
It's always my turn.